Welcome to AA Badenhorst Family Wines here in the Swartland in South Africa.
Yeah.
So we are just an hour northwest of Cape Town on the west coast. And we've been making wines in this property since, my wife and I and cousin bought this property in 2008. So we've been here, what is that, 15 years maybe, that we've been making wine here in the Swartland. Yeah, so my grandfather he was a farm manager at a farm called Groot Constantia. Groot means big in Dutch. Groot Constantia, and Constantia is the region. So that was the original wine farm in South Africa.
Okay.
That's where the first wines, and that's where the famous wines were made. I'll show you some pictures of very old bottles. We tasted some Groot Constantia wine last week from 1791. And the wine was exceptional. So he worked there for 46 years.
Okay.
And my father grew up on that estate.
Right.
And after my father had studied, he started farming, and he rented a farm called, this is a long word to pronounce, Buiten Verwachting.
Okay.
Which means beyond expectation. So he farmed that farm for many years. I grew up there as well. My father's a farm manager, and I went to study, and I got a job in Stellenbosch making wine, and then we decided to move at the end of 2007 to this region, to the Swartland.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because if you walk around here, and we'll have a look at some of the vineyards, wine is something, grapes are that one product in the world that can translate into the bottle. Very difficult for me to eat a peach and say, oh, this is north of that river, or a tomato. But grapes and wine, if they're made well, you can taste them back to where they were made.
Exactly.
And this area, for me, translates beautifully into the bottle, because these old vineyards, these old soils, and the way we make wine and the way we farm. When we first moved here, we had a farm that was 60 hectares in extent, and there was about 28 hectares planted to vines. Subsequently, we've bought other pieces of land, some neighboring properties. When they came onto the market, we bought some neighboring properties, and we farm around about 180 hectares of vineyard now, and about 300 and something hectares of land. So the land we don't farm with vineyards, we farm with wheat.
Okay.
Yeah, and that we rent out. Okay. So we produce a lot of grapes. We sell some grapes to very well-known winemakers in South Africa for their own brands. But most of the grapes we ferment here in this cellar you can see behind me. I've got no idea what the capacity is. Excuse me. We stop picking when all the tanks are full. You know what it's like. You worked here before. It's a bit crazy, but we can produce probably around 300,000 liters per year in this winery. Yes, so we harvest once a year. And our harvest starts end of January and February. So we pick once a year, and we do have seasons.
Right.
Spring is the shortest one. Because it feels you come out of this long, cold, wet winter, which we do have. We have these long, cold, wet winters, and you have spring, and then it feels you immediately into summer with the heat. So it's quite dry here. We don't get much rain during the growing season. So the growing season is for argument's sake, from August, September until after harvest. We don't get much rain during that time of the year, but in the winter it's nice and wet. And our soils here are based on granite. So sandy kind of soils on the lower slopes, a lot of more rock high up. But the great thing about granite and this mountain behind us, it's called the Paardeberg Mountain. And this mountain acts like a sponge. When it rains, it just soaks up all this water. And then throughout the season, this water just runs down the bedrock. So when the roots get down onto that, of the vines, they're very, very happy. But the soils are very well drained. In these soils. And what happens is you get winemakers will talk a lot of nonsense to you about minerality and flintiness and all that kind of nonsense. But what happens here with granites, my mathematics at school was terrible. I was very bad at mathematics. But the only equation I can do is that grapes plus granite equals freshness in the wines. So it's a sensation of acidity, and that's the beauty about our terroir.
Okay. And do you also have beneath the layers, you have a clay kind
There,
of structure?
there's a clay layer and then there's bedrock.
Okay.
That's correct.
So
So when that water runs and it goes into the clay,
Right.
the retention is high. When those roots go down and they can touch a bit of that, there's always, because we don't irrigate our vineyards artificially. We've got dams, but we don't irrigate the vineyard. So we call it, we also don't like to use the word dry land farm or unirrigated. We prefer to say rain fed.
Rain fed.
It sounds nicer,
Yes.
hey? It sort of brings God into the equation a bit, you know?
Yes.
So we call it rain fed. So we just rely on the natural weather patterns. And the weather patterns, as we all know, are changing somewhat. The problem is we don't live long enough to experience a full change in climate. But what we do to prevent was was the heat and the drought, and we're just farming differently. We're keeping a lot more cover on the ground, under the vines, mulching, that kind of thing,
Right.
just to preserve the soil moisture and increase the soil life.
Vineyards are bush planted?
Most of them are bush vines. Probably 80% of them are bush vines,
Okay.
which has been the traditional way of planting, the way before when the people had poles and wires. And it works really well for us.
Okay.
We'll have a look at some vineyards later. The vineyards have got a nice shape. The shoots grow beautifully. We haven't got, if we had a lot of precipitation and a lot of growth, we would probably have to put the wines into wire and trellis them and train them up and to make sure that growth doesn't flop down on the ground and cause a lot of shading in the canopy.
Right.
But we don't have that problem here.
Okay. And the lifespan of a plant would be?
Oh, forever? Forever? I mean, on this property we've got the oldest Grenache in South Africa.
Okay.
And it's not old. It was planted in 1950. It's old for South African terms, but compared to the rest of the vines in the world, it's not old.
Yes.
And that vineyard's only 70 years old. The vineyards I'm planting now, my children, Samuel and Anna, they will probably make wine from those and these old vines still.
Right.
When we came here for the first time, we wanted to, like everybody, because wine is a very difficult thing for a lot of people to understand. It can be quite intimidating if you know nothing about wine. Even, I know about wine. I walk into a wine shop and I look, there's 1,000 wines. I don't even know what toothpaste to buy, let alone what wine. But we just wanted to make wines from the beginning that were, I don't want to say artisanal, I want to say like farmers' wines, like they would have made wines many years ago, just by picking ripe grapes, fermenting them, not doing too much to them, because if you do that, you influence the actual character of those grapes. Not to do too much, but not to do nothing, and try and keep that thread from the grapes through the maturation into the bottle. So wines have got probably quite like a rustic kind of edge, but they are completely imperfect.
Okay.
In terms of all the correct markers, but they are perfect in what they intend to teach about the way we farm and about the way we make wine,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
So they are wines without lipstick and makeup.
Right.
They are just proper farmers' wines. Yeah, so the Swartland revolution it started in 2010. And it was the brainchild of a guy called Mark Kent from Buchenholzkloof. And they just bought a property here in the Swartland. And Chris Mullineux, they met at Hospice du Rhône in the States. And they put together the idea of having, and we named it the Swartland Revolution. So it was myself, so AA Badenhorst family wines, Porcelainberg, the Mullineux family. I know you're going to go and see Chris and Andrea. And my neighbor and friend here, a guy called Eben Sadi. And we just had this festival. We brought in people from all over the world, people that were our heroes, people we respect, and said, listen, man, please, we're having this weekend, we'll fly you out, bring your wines, and present it to an audience. And the next day, so there was a Friday night, the next day we'd have another tasting with also a foreigner or somebody respected. But we'd never compare our wines to their wines. We'd have like one tasting, just that our wines would taste maybe different swirls, different varietals. And it was a fantastic weekend.
Okay.
You know, when you go to these wine tastings, a lot of them, when you walk around and you taste, you don't get enough information. And about this festival, people that came there, they got a tremendous amount of information. The wines were of the highest quality you can imagine. The food and the community afterwards, there was just like a generosity that flowed through the whole event, which made it a very special event. And that's why it gained such popularity. At one stage, we sold the tickets, 400-500 tickets in an hour or two were sold out. Because that's all we could do physically, for a tasting. So the Swartland Revolution started in 2010, and we did it for 5 years, and then we stopped.
Okay.
It was the first weekend of November, and then we stopped the Swartland Revolution. But every weekend in November since, there's always been a Swartland festival. So if you ever hear again in November, the first weekend of November, it's amazing to attend the Swartland festival.
Yeah, well, welcome to Mullineux here in the Swartland. I'm Chris Mullineux. So, one of the, I suppose, founders of the winery, together with my wife Andrea. We have two wineries, one here in Swartland, so Mullineux, and also a winery in Franschhoek, Liupesant. Yeah. So, partners with Bas, with Analjit Singh in both wineries. Yeah. And you're in a very special part of the world here. Swartland is a really amazing place. Yeah. So I'm South African, studied winemaking at Stellenbosch University. Right. And my wife Andrea is Californian. She studied winemaking at UC Davis, worked in Napa for a while. And then we both were working as young kind of interns in France, in the south of France, and met there. Yeah. And I'd already been working in South Africa for a bit and was working just over this mountain in another region called Tulbagh, at a beautiful winery there. And we had been at that winery also working with vineyards in different regions, different appellations, Stellenbosch, Elgin, Swartland. And every year for us, the wines that we made from vineyards here, specifically this property were just amazing. They were incredible. So when we decided to get married eventually and start our own winery, and we were just drawn to this place.
Okay.
So that's why we chose this place. Yeah. So when we moved here in 2007, this region was pretty unknown, both locally and internationally. There was a lot of vineyards here for a long time, so it's historically a big farming area. And when we moved here, there were about 300 growers of vines, but there were only like maybe 7 or 8 wineries. So it was a big farming community, but not a big wine community. But yeah, us and like AA Badenhorst and Ibn Sadi and Mark Kent from Mullineux Kloof really recognized the potential of this area. We have an amazing dry, sunny climate. We've got a lot of old vineyards, really old vines. So there was amazing opportunities and potential here. It just needed to be seized and focused on, really. So so we moved here and started making wine, and just happened to be at the same time as a handful of other really interesting wineries. And when we started releasing our wines, so in 2008 and 2009, we were just so excited by these amazing wines, but it was quite difficult to get people to even want to try them because they didn't know what Swartland was. And so we had this like, these wines are amazing, and people were like, okay, that's nice. And eventually we were like, we've got to get people here to the Swartland to see this place, to experience the place firsthand, to fall in love with it like we were. So we started a festival, this called the Swartland Revolution, to bring people here and create an awareness of how amazing it was. I mean, so Kastielberg, where we are, this mountain is a very ancient mountain. It was formed 500 million years ago when Africa and South America collided. Right. So the two continents came together, and above where we're sitting now, believe it or not, 500 million years ago was a mountain range as big as the Himalayas.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy, yeah? So because these two continents came together, all this land was pushed up, and it formed these mountains, but they extended several kilometers high. And over the last 500 million years, those mountains have been eroding. So the soil here is quite poor, quite weathered, but really interesting for making wine because there's not a lot of nutrients. The soils aren't extremely fertile, so the vines really have to struggle and dig hard and find nutrients and water down low. So they work hard, but a bit of stress in life is good for one. So Swartland has kind of 3 main soil types. So on Kastielberg, it's schist or slate. So quite shallow. We have about 0.5 meter of soil, and then it's just rock, hard bedrock. So that's on this mountain. And then the Paardeberg, where AA Badenhorst and Ibn Sadi is, that's granite soil. So that mountain was also pushed up at the same time. It was this huge plume of magma that came up from under the earth and then cooled down under this big mountain. And that formed the Paardeberg mountain. And that also being 500 million years has been eroding. So it's actually very deep, very weathered granite soils. So there, it's opposite. The vine's roots go really far down, and they have an amazing acidity. So it's quite amazing to taste the wines from here, because those wines, particularly in this dry, sunny climate, make wines with amazing freshness and energy to them. So beautiful, so at the moment the focus is very much on Mediterranean varieties and mostly Rhone or French varieties. So Syrah, Grenache, Cinsault, Claret Blanche, Viognier, those kind of things. So they're very well adapted to the warm, dry, sunny climate we have here, and make beautiful expressions. We've also got a lot of really old Chenin Blanc in this area. So Chenin is a grape that was brought into our country in the 1600s by the Dutch. So it's been here for many, many centuries. And over time, as farmers would plant a new vineyard, they would go to an old Chenin Blanc vineyard, take cuttings of the best vines to plant a new vineyard. So over time, we had kind of through muscle selection, we developed our own unique clones of Chenin.
Self-rooted, or the grafted?
They were originally own-rooted until the 1880s when phylloxera came here. So we do have phylloxera in this area. So since 1900 the vineyards are grafted in this area. Yeah,
Grafted.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And in 2013, Arnoldjit, or Bass as we call him, had come to South Africa for the Soccer World Cup in 2010, and just fell in love with the country and bought a little country retreat, and then it grew into also a vineyard, and there was a winery on the site. And he was looking for partners to work with him to establish a winery there in Franschhoek. And we met up one day and just had a great meeting of minds. We saw how his philosophy of really not compromising, doing things really extremely well, really resonated with ours. And Andrew and I were very excited to be able to venture a little bit out of the Swartland, start a new winery, and work with other vineyards, other varieties, and other terroirs.
My name is Jandre. Welcome to Roundstone. This is the home of Mullineux and Liu. And I'm the farm manager on the farm, and I make sure that all the vineyard activities get done on the correct time and everything is done with quality. I think Vic will take us a slow drive up there. It's not far. Because you must get the view from there. Do you mind if she goes with?
Yeah.
Because she's going to run, but she won't do anything this. She'll be gentle. Luckily it's a cool start to the morning. So this team here, we're just reducing the crop. There's too many grapes on the vines. So we normally there are 2 bunches on the shoot. So we go to 1 bunch a shoot. And I say to him, don't look what is on the ground, look what is still on the vine. So better like that, yeah. Yeah, so Vic, this is our dam that we irrigate out of. This is our main dam, and we're very privileged this year that we had a good winter. So the dams are full. Not that we irrigate a lot, but it's just for the upcoming years. So we're definitely going to get some dry years again. So then we have water in spare for that, yeah. And this is our palm block. It's planted with the contours. You can see it from here. And it's quite a amazing vineyard if you look from here. Probably the best vineyard in the world. No, in the vineyard. So every Tuesday, it's Tuesday today. Yes, the guy came and then he will measure the moisture for us. And he did show us the first 600. It's already very dry, but on 900 and towards a meter, there's quite a lot of moisture still in the soils. Yeah. As we go back, I can show you this vineyard here. Suddenly, the bottom just started to grow again. Okay. Because I think those roots are starting to take water from deep down here. Okay. Yes. But to farm like this is expensive, yes. But the results are in the wines. So yeah, soil prep very expensive. Obviously, with the bulldozer and the diesel, and also you have to pay for the vines when you plant them. They also quite expensive, and obviously then labor after that. So I think overall it just stays expensive. Like in the vineyards now we have around, say from October till the end of the year, we have about 50 people in the vineyards every day. Yeah, and the costs are really high. So obviously we have to manage them really well. But my guys are very happy. I also say if you look after your people, they will look after you. We have pockets of the same types of soil in the Swartland here. So what we have here is the schist, and then also we have a little bit of quartz down at the bottom of the farm. But mainly these are our soils here. So just look at this, quite amazing. See, that's also why we don't give water here. You can imagine if you give water on that, the water will just disappear, yeah. So that's why we have the philosophy, we give small amounts of water just to stay in the root area. Yeah. In Afrikaans it's a tarantal. Tarantal, yeah.
What is it?
It's for this bird, the Afrikaans name. So the English it's a guinea fowl. Yeah. Afrikaans is a tarantal. But we have hundreds of them on the farm, which is actually good because they eat the bad insects. Right. And obviously with all the mulching that we have here, we don't have any problems with snails. Okay. Because the guinea fowl, they eat the snails, They eat the snails, Okay. And normally we get a lot of wind here in October month. Okay. A lot of wind here. So
we have to kind of farm according to the wind also, tipping and topping. But we are at the moment we are putting some poles by each vine, just so we can tie the shoots. And yeah, before we started here 10 years ago, the soils were dead here. You couldn't even get a screwdriver in there. But with us doing the mulching, we also make our own compost on the farm. So we will pick up the mulch and put the compost under, and that just helps with the soil health. So within like the first 5 years, we could see the difference in the vines being more healthy, and just the soil health getting back, earthworms. Yeah. So my philosophy is if your feet are healthy, the plant will be healthy. Yeah. So I can maybe just show you here. And now actually look how soft and alive the soils are. So when we started here 8 years ago, you couldn't do that. It was just rock solid and dead, and that's amazing. Huh? There's a big crop on the vines, so we will come in with a team here, and we will drop to one bunch of shoots. So we will take one bunch away, and just to make sure there's one bunch. And also with this vigor, we will just do a little bit of leaf break, just to let some more light in there. So all these farms here have natural springs feeding to the farms for drinking water, and it's all free flow. So all the gardens here, we don't start any pumps to give water. It's all gravity. So most of obviously we do give the vineyards just a little bit of water before like heat waves, but not a lot. And but all the trees here, they all get water via gravity. But this year we have a lot of water. We had a lot of rain. So we have a dam there and a dam at the bottom. And both dams were full within 2 months this year of all the rain. Yeah, normally it will take some time to get full, but this year is just full. So we had last year I think we had about 600 millimeters of rain, but this year I think we're close to 900. It's a lot of rain, yeah. But then they predict a really hot summer again this year. So that's why I say, especially with breaking of leaves here, to be careful. The birds love this vineyard because of all the trees. So we do put nets up. Say just at Verasion. It's a white net. It's not a very small net. It blocks is about that big, and we cover this side and the other side, so the birds come. Because the birds, those first 10 rows at the top, the birds just destroy everything, and as soon as the bird, his saliva goes into that pips, it's damaging for the wines. It's a high density planting, 1.5 by 1.5, 8 rows, and then a road. And then another block of 8 rows, and then another road for the tractors to drive in. So I think the main advantage of planting like this is you won't get any compaction there. So there's no tractors driving at all in here. So no tractor compaction there, and it's all done by hand, de-weeding and everything. Yeah. I think for us here is just also to get also because it's a slope. We planted it scattered, so it also helps with no erosion there. So it's planted scattered, so it helps with that. And I think also you get more vines per hectare, so you can play a bit with that, because we do a lot of crop dropping. We call it stock by palkie. I don't know I think there's a fancy word for it, but I'm not sure. So I think by doing that, obviously by tying it to the poles, less wind damage, and then also you don't get shoots breaking off. And I think also with the bush vine here, because of all the wind, we have to tip and top a lot, and that puts stress on the vines. And by just letting them grow, I would say much more relaxed. So, and also we're aiming or thinking that we might get better acidity in the grapes by doing it like that. Yeah, but it is a lot of work. Yeah, we have the Cape Cobra here on the farm, and the boomslang. And also we'll see this. Look, there's a bit of insects here, but you can see how it keeps the moisture there. It's not even dry there. Yeah. Also we are in the process of being an organic farm. So we're not spraying any systemic. We're spraying copper and sulfur, and there's a product called AgriCare. It's almost like baking soda. It just dries out the downy mildew. Yeah. So we're doing no systemics. We also do no insecticides, no pesticides, no herbicides, nothing. So when we de-weed here, we do it by hand. Yeah, and we also release natural predators in the vineyards, just to make sure to attack the bad insects and take care of that. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's also one of the advantages of the natural fynbos that we have here. It attracts the good insects, so they can take care of the bad insects. Yeah, and also it looks nice.
Yes.
Yeah, but you see the fire hazard here.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So we still have to do a nice fire break here, but you need to do it when it's a cool day and not wind. And the wind mustn't blow that side because you know we work with a blade to cut it short, and if the blade maybe hits a rock, it can spark. Make a fire. Yeah. So we still have to take care, just to protect our side also. Yeah, because we have a lot of mulch in the vineyard, so it is dry in the vineyard, so it can burn.
Yes.
Can burn. Yeah. The pruning seasons we start here in the winter, so we'll start say August, May, June, say July, August. We will prune. And then also here by September, the vineyard starts to bud. So September, October, November, December, that's more our growing season of the vines. And that's when we do the tipping and the topping. And then our harvest starts around mid-January. We have a cultivar called Verdelho, and we normally start with that. So early cultivars here is Verdelho and the Chenin Blanc and the Grenache Blanc. At the top here, that's our first cultivars here. But obviously with the heat, everything ripens quickly here. Yeah. Like I said, mid-January month and we're done. Okay. Yeah. So and then obviously then it's spring, dropping of leaves, and then the season starts again with pruning. Yeah.